All right. Okay, we're live. Okay, everyone, I'm so excited because Monica is joining me live right now. And how did I meet you? I can't remember. Was it just Instagram?
I don't know if it was, I think it might have been
Was it
Clubhouse
Clubhouse?
and Instagram, one of them,
All these social networks these days.
right?
It's like, my gosh, can we get it together, people? So, all right. Oh, okay, we're live. What is happening? Okay, everyone, I'm so excited
Oh, we
because
have like some delay.
oh, that's weird. Okay, well, I can edit that out. That's fine. Technical difficulties, everybody. It is what it is, you just kind of have to roll with the punches. All right. So, Monica, I love starting off my conversations with I want to know something interesting about you that most people don't know.
I feel like most people know everything about me since I just wrote a book about everything, but I guess probably my travel people don't really know that I started at a resort called the 𝗹𝗲𝘃 Ranch Resort, and I used to like ride a bull and sing the national anthem at rodeos and like do stage shows.
Wait, hold on, rewind. You rode a bull?
Yeah, which I had never ridden a horse, but I sang the national anthem at events, and there was a bull that like kids would ride on, and they were like, "Do you want to like sing the national anthem at a rodeo on the bull?" And I was like, "Sure, why
Wait, is
not?"
this like a real bull or a
Yeah.
mechanical bull?
No, a real Brahma bull, horns and all, and so I used to take them on trail rides and practice, and then we would start doing it at rodeos.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, you know what's really funny that you say that because literally last night I was sitting on the couch with my husband and my sister had posted photos of her. She has triplets.
Okay.
She posted photos of her triplets and that they went to the rodeo. And my husband said, he's like, "Oh, I used to ride bulls." And I looked at him like, wait, what? This is something about you that I've never even heard before, that I had no clue. He said, yeah, the smaller ones, not like the big ones, but he used to ride bulls. I didn't know they had smaller bulls, but yeah.
Well, 𝗪𝘁 was a very gentle giant. She was large, but there was no bucking. It was more just like a giant horse.
Oh my giant horse. I love it. Well, that is something I did not know about you, but I love that. So you talk a lot about pivoting. You said your book is you wrote a book, you just talked about that. So what is your book about exactly? Because I know that it's a lot about pivoting, correct?
Yeah. So the book is called The Power of Pivoting: How to Embrace Change and Create a Life You Love. And I didn't really plan on writing a book, and then 2020 happened, and my travel show kind of came to a halt because there was no travel. And I saw the world pivoting, and it's something I'm very comfortable with and like to talk about in general. So the book came out of it, which was unexpected and awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why I wanted you to kind of mention the book a little bit, because I want to know to you, what does the power of pivoting mean? Because it's very powerful and it can mean a lot of things for different people. So I'm curious what it means for you.
Yeah, I think I like the word pivoting because change feels really scary and change can feel a lot like loss. And in my own personal life, when I kind of had the rug pulled out from underneath me, I started to see it as an opportunity and see that there's a lot of things that you can gain out of loss, pivoting, change, whatever you want to call it. And so there's so much power in that. And once we can kind of flip that mindset and start to see those opportunities, it takes away some of that fear of change and we can lean into it and really step into our best life. So yeah, I think there's a lot of power in that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And right now, I think more than ever, ever since the pandemic came out, a lot of people have either been forced into a pivot of their life or have just naturally fallen into a pivot of their life. And there's a lot of people just embracing, and not really comfortably, I must add,
Mhm.
whole new direction, a whole new pivot. So when we talk about pivoting in a career, what does that look like? Like what can people do to kind of make it easier for them, make the transition kind of make sense when everything else seems so chaotic, especially if it's something that you weren't necessarily prepared for?
Yeah, and that's it, right? Because sometimes we can choose, okay, I want to try a different direction. But especially after this last year, I think we all learned that sometimes the choice is made for us, which on the one hand, that could be good because it takes away from that, like, should I stay or should I go? Like, I feel like that's the worst spot. So sometimes those decisions are just made for us. So when that happens, I like to tell people to reframe everything. Maybe go back and recreate that vision board with the new outlook of your life. Sit down and picture out what your new goals are and what kind of opportunities you can see out of this, and really reframe that and build out for the things that you can look forward to. Because, like I say, if I have a vision board where I'm all about family and a house and all of this, and then I go through divorce, that can be really sad. So then you can start creating a new one with travel and girlfriends, and vice versa. Maybe it's travel and girlfriends and then you meet somebody. So it's nice to have like those representation of the goals that you can look forward to now. So even with careers, I think it's funny that for some reason we have this mindset that if we change careers, we're going backwards. But that is never the case. We're always getting closer to the things we actually want to do. So sometimes, even if it's pulled out from under us, that's a good chance to reevaluate and go, okay, well, what do I actually want now?
Oh my gosh, it's such good stuff right there. I want to touch on two things that you said. Number one, you mentioned dream board, right? I know that some people that might watch this or listen to this are probably thinking like, magazines and scrapbooks and on a poster board. Really, how old are we? But seriously, there is something powerful to putting the images of your dreams up in front of you. Now, you don't necessarily have to get like the poster board. I even do like a screensaver on my computer, or on your phone, the wallpaper on your phone. There's so many places, but there's so much power in visually seeing that every single day. So I love that you said that when things can get hectic or you can get down, like to put those things up in your face. And then you talked about pivoting in a career and how people might always, or our mindset is that that's a negative thing, right? My husband recently pivoted in his career, and there was a period of time that he was going through a very challenging season in work. And it was a very awkward season for him because it's like he got the promotion, but there were other things that weren't aligning. So there was like this blessing with it, but there was also this heavy weight of things that he was going through. And throughout the moment, it was very hard for him to kind of see what was happening, right? And that's part of the pivot that we're talking about. Like we always look like it's a setback, but there's inner workings to like what's happening, right? So then he transitioned again. And now he can see the season that he was in and the purpose that it had for him. So I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah. And I think so often too, I talk a lot about this mindset and having this positive mindset, even amidst all the change, but that doesn't take away from those feelings of fear and loss and everything else. I was talking to a woman on a podcast about how her last kid was going off to college. She was like, all I could feel was this sadness and this loss. And then I had a friend tell me, well, you can go anywhere now. You can take a trip when you feel like it. You can do this. It doesn't take away from the loss and sadness. It's just shifting your mindset to see some of those good things.
Yeah.
And then that mindset will carry you into the next season of your life or your career or whatever it may be. And with vision boards, you can see one behind me. I've got a bunch of them behind me.
I love it.
But I joke a lot that I'm like the most anti-woo-woo person. And I was in LA for 10 years. And I finally like did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, these things are all coming true. Yeah. But even if you don't believe in it, like I said, it's just that visual representation of things to look forward to. So even if you're like, I don't think I'm going to stick a car up there and then I'm going to get that car. Cool. I think you should believe it. But if you don't, cool. But at least it's something to look forward to and kind of stay in that positive mindset.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Let's talk about, the pivot for some people in that onset of doubt, or let's talk about it in the way of, okay, I want to make this change. Like I am actively pursuing this pivot in this new direction in my life. Okay, but now I'm second guessing what I'm doing. Yeah. Like, is this wrong for me? Because I feel awkward. For me, I moved across the country because I went through a divorce too. I went through a divorce. I needed change. I moved across the country. And as excited as I was the entire time, there was this moments of doubt, even going through a divorce, right? Even going through that season, it's like, I know that we're better separated, and God, we have an amazing relationship today. But during that separation period, it's like, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? So how does someone kind of, I guess, recognize when that's happening, and how do we cope with that?
Yeah. So I think that there's two extremes. There is I'm not ready to go yet. And I think we've all been in that situation, right? We've been in those relationships where we're like, I know this is probably not the right thing, but I am not ready to leave. And if I do, I might have regrets or second thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the other extreme where even if you can't figure out what it is, you find yourself crying, getting sick, road raging, whatever it is, our bodies show us in different ways that something in our life needs to change. So what I kind of tell people is somewhere in between the two.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, like, the first thought you have, be like, okay, I'm going to go and screw it. We'll figure it out. You can't, it might work out. But also don't wait to the point where it's affecting your entire life. So I think as long as we kind of check in with our guts, we know when those moments are and we're ready to go. And then in terms of, is this the right move? I think it's always good to know your why. Why is this pivot important? To remember where you came from. And then if you have that fear or that self-doubt, write down the things you've accomplished before. Remind yourself of all the things that you've done. And I kind of say life is like a choose your own adventure. We don't always know when we're going the right way, but we definitely know when we're going the wrong one. So sometimes it just means taking that leap, and right away you'll know, like, whoa, that wasn't it. And then you change. And if you don't feel that, keep going with it, because there's lessons in it, even if it's not your final result.
Yeah, no, I love this. So I want to take the same topic, but I want to kind of go in step a little bit into my industry for a minute, because social media and branding. Social media, I love it. It's a way to stay connected, but it's also a very vulnerable place, because it's a place that, for me, for example, I run a business on social media, but I also share my personal life, right? I've actually taken isn't even a word, but what is the word? Is it taken? Is taken a word? Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. Well, I've took my following along with me throughout my divorce, throughout my move, throughout every kind of change that I've had. But for some people, this is really challenging, especially if they're showing up as a business too. So how much is too much? Like, how do you go through a pivot in life? How do you show up on social media confidently with that? What do I do? What do I do? Help the people out there that are like, what do I do?
Yeah. And I was a social media manager for years as well. So I've definitely worked with people that are kind of all in the spectrum of this. And, for me personally, I'm an open book. I love that. I've just never felt uncomfortable in that space, but I also understand that some people do. And so even for myself, I always ask myself, why am I sharing this? Is it because I just need to get it out there? Because that's not going to help anybody, and they're going to see that I just want attention. Or is it because this thing I've been through can provide a lesson for somebody else, and that's important to me? If it comes back to your why and it's important to you, feel free to share it. You can always delete it. But if you're not a person who's comfortable sharing things, I think that there's ways to be authentic and show behind the scenes of the business and things like that. But you can still have your boundaries of what your personal life is. And I think the hardest thing in social media is making that shift. And I found that because I had, a family friendly travel show. And in my personal life, I am an open book. Everybody knows everything. But on social, I was showing up as this travel host. And I finally said, I can't do this. Who I am is an open person. And so I sat down and made a video about my divorce, and then eventually ended up writing this book. And it did take some people a minute, and I probably lost some followers and gained other ones. But eventually, as long as you're authentic, you're going to find the people that need what it is you're putting out there. So don't worry so much about the numbers, and just know that if you're being yourself in whatever way that is for you, whether that's your business or your personal life, people will show up for that. Just always do it for the greater good and not so much about attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that when I was sharing my most vulnerable moments in life, it was during kind of right when Facebook Live started. And I was like, oh, what is this live thing? Let me go for it. And unbeknownst to me, I decided to use it as my portal for all things going on in my life. And it was like my open diary. And as vulnerable as I felt, I connected with so many people. I mean, I think back to that time, and I honestly think, as crazy as it might seem for some people, like, how could she, because I got that too, how could she be putting this all out there so vulnerably? Even family members were like, keep that stuff on the inside. This is stuff you don't share so public. But at the same time, I really think it was the messages and the connections that I was making with people through the process that honestly got me through it. That, validated that it was okay to feel this way because they felt that way, or maybe they're going through the same scenario and I'm already further along than them. And I'm in my own life, I felt like I was way behind, so
Yeah.
it was a very therapeutic process. And I mean, as much as I don't like to go back and look at it because the memories pop up, right? It is kind of interesting and fun to see how far I've come.
Yeah. So two things that you definitely said that I resonate with. Even with the book, I felt like I can't write a self-help book. I feel like a mess. But then I thought the things that I've been through can help the person who's going through them in this moment.
Yeah.
And that goes for everybody, because so often we feel like, who am I to share this? I'm still figuring it out, whatever it is. But the things that you've learned, somebody else needs to hear. And so that's kind of how I felt about everything. And I ran into the same exact thing when I said, I want to make a video and tell people what's been going on behind the scenes. Everybody, every single person I told said, don't do it. You have a family friendly travel show. Don't do it. And the second I did it, I knew in my gut I needed to. And the second I did, I had women reaching out to me with their own stories, and it just opened up this whole portal. I would not have written the book and done all the things had I not taken that first step.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can always take that step and go, oop, that was too much, and then delete it if it is for you.
I mean, it's so funny that you say that you can connect with that, because it's often, and this is no shame on anybody that's close to me or close to you, but it is just kind of what it is. It usually ends up being the people closest to you that try to keep you from stepping into that change, because they just don't want you to have to deal with it, or they don't want to have to deal with the repercussions of it. They just don't want to be around it when it happens. Right. But at the same time, they're supportive during the process, not always, but sometimes. But I was reading something today, and I can't remember, 100 Days Brave. I'm reading that devotional book. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but in that book, it talks about sharing your dreams with select people, and not to share them with everybody, but to share them with the people that not only do you trust, and also people that have either gone through what you've gone through, or people that have experienced failure, because it's the people that experience failure or moments like, and I wouldn't say what I've experienced is failure. It's a growth season in my life. But if I would have not experienced that, and you wouldn't have experienced that, we wouldn't be able to mentor somebody that might be experiencing it. So absolutely right. I just love this. It's such a good topic, and it's so needed. And I think it's very relevant today, because I know there's so many people that are in this transition and in this pivot in their life. And a lot of them are stuck, but some of them are super excited about it too, along the way. So it's really fun. So I want to know, what is one thing, let's talk about you for a second. What is one thing that you've got going on right now? It's something that you're launching, you're working on, or something that you're really, really excited about?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I've kind of found my purpose along the way, but I put it all together now. So I started the travel show back in 2014 to inspire people to face their fears and break out of their comfort zone. Then I launched or released the book, The Power of Pivoting, and everyone said, these don't make sense. How do you have a travel show about facing fears and a book about pivoting and your divorce and self-help and all that? And then it hit me to put them together. So now I have the Pivot with Purpose adventure retreats, because I believe facing fears is the same whether it's on a cliff or in your life, starting a new job. So we go through the mindset stuff in the mornings, and then in the afternoons, we go actually face our fears and do the things. So we just did one in Colorado, and the next one's in Arizona, and we're doing things like rappelling and mountain biking and all the fun stuff. And also
I want to come.
So fun. Oh my gosh. The Colorado one was amazing.
Oh my God. You said Colorado, and then you said Arizona, and I'm like, yes. And yes. And
oh yeah, there's a wine retreat coming up. Like, it's going to be great.
You know where another one would be really great to host is Idaho.
Yes. I'm actually filming back in Idaho twice next year. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. So beautiful. That sounds so much fun. Okay. I always ask all of my guests this: what is a life quote or a verse or anything like that has stuck with you or has gotten you through?
Yes. Favorite quote, started my book with this. Beginnings are scary. Endings are usually sad, but it's the middle that counts. Remember that when you find yourself at the beginning. And that's from the movie Hope Floats.
I love it. I haven't had that one yet. I love that question, because I always get something different, and it's so awesome. I love it. So if you could give, I mean, outside of the quote and everything that you said, if you could give one key takeaway for listeners to kind of walk away with, sit with, meditate on, what would that be?
I would say be kind to yourself and stop shitting all over yourself. Is how I put it, because
Right?
we have put so many shoulds on our life. So just be
Yeah.
kind to yourself and enjoy the process. And yeah,
I
that's
love it. I love it. So where can people find you? Where can people hang out with you, be in your city? Where can I find out about your next retreat or whatever you're doing?
yeah. So the website is monicaj.ortega.com. And that has everything on it. It has, the travel show, my podcast, the retreats. On social media, I'm at Monica Goes Show. And then the travel show is on YouTube at Monica Goes Show.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. Thank you so much for coming on and having this juicy conversation. And I hope that anybody that's listening, whether you are willingly stepping into a pivot in your life or you've kind of just been thrown here and you honestly just don't even know what to do, take a second, listen to this again, save it, share it, pass on the love to somebody else that might be going through this time, because Monica's shared some really good stuff. And not only check out her book, but definitely go to the website, because I know I'm going to go visit it, because I want to go on these like retreats with you. They sound so much fun for sure. All
Thank you
right.
for
Well,
having
thank
me.
you, Monica, so